Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major and this is a review of the British Tech Tree Tier 6 heavy cruiser HMS Surrey. Now HMS Surrey is a design of heavy cruiser from 1927 which was then revisited and modified in 1928 before two ships of the class were then ordered. Now the two ships that were ordered were then cancelled by the government in power at the time. The reason being was with the 1930 Navy Treaty Conference coming up, the future of heavy cruisers was a little bit mixed, simply because of the way that when it came to cruisers, the American and Japanese powers had all focused on heavy cruisers, where the British had kind of gone for light cruisers for hull numbers. And of course with heavy cruisers you're not getting that kind of amount of firepower for your displacement, I guess you could say. Now you are watching me do a slightly odd manoeuvre here, trying to get a ship around the back here. The reason being is I don't like the way this map works. It ends up with 6 versus 3 on this side and in favour of our team, and it ends up with 6 versus 3 in favour of the enemy team on the other flank. So what I like to do if I'm in a ship with decent manoeuvrability is to actually try and redistribute the forces. So I'm noting we've got 2 battleships and 1 destroyer over on the right flank, no cruisers, so I'm going to take myself over there. On the enemy team we have a Udachi, a Mayuku, a York, a Surrey, a Sinop, a Roma, Bismarck, Massachusetts and Iowa. So it's a tier 6 and 7 game. And it definitely feels like the Udachi is coming up the centre somewhere. So, as always, in comparison to the Tech Tree ships, Surrey has the 4th highest HP base. So not too bad there. And that Udachi is definitely over in like this area, I would say. Now she has 35,300 HP for her base HP. She also has the highest HP pool of 45,156, and that's thanks to the 2 repair parties that she comes with base. Now she does have the best torpedo reduction of 28%, so that's a nice little trick up her sleeve, I guess you could say. When it comes to the armour, it's a cruiser at the end of the day, so we shouldn't really expect much. However, let's go back to the port and take a look at that. So let's take a look at the armour of the Surrey. Well, first of all, let's talk about the bow and the stern. They are mostly covered in 16mm plating, which is only really sufficient in order to bounce up to 8-inch guns, AP rounds from 8-inch guns. So not exactly anything to be spectacularly excited about. It does mean you can do well against most cruisers, but battleships wise, they're just going to punch straight through your nose. So you don't be offering them in your nose, because they basically just go straight through your ship. Unfortunately, protect those away. You can see that we've got the usual typical rather thinly plated turrets, the usual 25mm all over, which is sufficient enough to bounce 14-inch guns. But apart from that, not much else going on. And also the barbettes are reasonable enough, but nothing super exciting. It's only really making a difference with very small caliber guns when it comes to what kind of penetration damage you're going to be getting there. So taking away the turrets and the barbettes, we'll jump onto the superstructure. Superstructure is your classically very thinly plated 13mm all over. It's worth noting there's not a lot of it. I mean, you do have some of the supports on the back for the for X turret, and also up the front for B turret. And you've also got the main bridge, and I think the main bridge is really the main section where people will be trying to harvest over pen damage or HE spam damage, really. Now, if we go to the auxiliary room, which covers the main deck and also the main compartments, now you can see it's covered in mostly 25mm armour on the sides, which is sufficient to bounce 14-inch guns. However, it's worth noting that at the very front it is only 19mm thick, and also at the rear there is a part of it which is only 90mm thick as well. Now there is an amusing factor on this, in that the top deck is actually 27mm thick. Now by being 27mm thick, it does mean that 15-inch guns can actually skip off. So, depending on your ranges and stuff, it's possible for a 15-inch gun AP to bounce off the top. However, if it doesn't hit the top and hits your side, it's going through. some very intriguing abilities, I guess you could say, with this armor scheme. When it comes to the Citadel, well, it's starting to get a bit smaller, especially in comparison to, say, the rest of the ship. As you can see, it is partially above the water, mostly located underneath the aircraft catapult and the torpedo launchers and the funnels, and it is mostly plated on the outside by 140mm plating, which is quite thick. However, being there's not a lot of it exposed on the side, it's not exactly like you can use it as your main armoured belt, unfortunately. Furthermore, it is thick on the top, so maybe you could get something to punch you through the side and skip off of that, but it's just going to be detonating you in your auxiliary space and causing a lot of damage at the end of the day. And now the parts of your Citadel which is below water are quite thinly plated, that's worth noting. However, for something to get down there, it's not going to be penning you from the side, it's going to be penning from along the length of the ship, or from very high on, so it's not likely to be penetrated unless you're getting hit at range broadside on, or along the length of your ship, possibly up to close ranges. But yeah, it's interesting. Apparently she's supposed to have like a good armor scheme, but doesn't look much like it. For a tier 6, I guess she's comparable to quite a lot of the tier 6's cruisers, but in isolation, nothing special. So welcome back to the game. So when it comes to the artillery, we have 8 8-inch guns in 4 dual gun turrets. We have A turret, B turret super firing up front, and then we have X turret and super firing over Y turret at the rear. Now these turrets do seem to have quite a reasonable angle, so it does make them quite good for kiting. Now you do have a just below average range of 14.8 kilometers. You also have the 4th slowest reload speed, which is 12.5 seconds. Let's see if we can find our mark with that. Very nice. Now we do have a fastest turret traverse speed of 17.6 seconds per 180 degrees of rotation, so that's really quite nice. That does really help with that kiting ability that I find I like to play with. When it comes to the shells and their damages, you do have the joint highest high explosive shell damage. You also have the joint best fire chance with your high explosive shells at this tier, which is 17%. Now you do have a just above average AP shell damage, unfortunately, so it's very much all about the high explosives with this ship, which is one of the reasons why she does have the trait superior high explosive penetration. Now when it comes to the DPMs, you do have the 4th best HE DPM and fires per minute, and you have the 2nd worst AP DPM, so again reinforcing that focus upon high explosives. When it comes to the torpedoes, you do have 2 launchers, 1 per side, and each launcher has 4 tubes. Nope, not quite in torpedo range, he's moving away unfortunately. Now these launchers do have an above average reload time per launcher of 96 seconds. However, they do have a below average reload time per tube, which is quite nice. Just to put some into a bit of comparison there. So their probably launcher reload time is more based on the number of tubes rather than it being a generally slow reload. Now they do have an above average torpedo damage of 15,867. Now they have an average detection of 1.3 kilometers, average range of 8 kilometers, and an average speed of 61 knots. And of course, being British torpedoes, they do have the ability to be sequentially launched as per always. When it comes to the maneuverability, you are the slowest at the tier with a top speed of only 30 knots. You have the joint 2nd smallest turning circle of 660 meters, and you also have the 3rd worst rudder shift of 11.3 seconds. Now when it comes to your concealment, you might obviously have the hidden trait, which is worth mentioning, and that's respectable considering that you do have the joint 2nd best detectability at sea, which is 11.5 kilometers, which puts you pretty much on par with the Fiji. Now you have the fourth best detectability from the air, which is 6.9 kilometers, and you have it just below, or just better than average really, when firing in smoke, which is 6.4 kilometers. But I don't really see you being able to fire from smoke unless you find yourself that opportunity. I'm quite surprised I'm still alive, considering I'm reviewing and got 3 battleships looking at me. Got some Iowa shots coming in, these could hurt. So when it comes to the consumables, obviously you have 2 sonar. These will be able to detect ships at 4.2 kilometers, detect torpedoes at 3 kilometers, has a 94-second duration and a 180-second reload. When it comes to your other consumables, obviously you do have 3 catapult fighters. A catapult fighter is a catapult fighter, unfortunately. They no longer show us the damage per second, but you can be assumed that it's probably on par with the Fiji, maybe. So if it's on par with the Fiji, it is slightly better than average. Now you also have 2 repair parties. Now these will heal 176 HP per second for 28 seconds, which means that each repair party will be able to heal a total amount of 4,928 HP. Now, as always, down in the comments will be the commander build and the ship modules taken. However, I've taken Bruce Fraser, and systems-wise, I'm taking aiming systems and I'm taking double steering gears. Now, with the review complete, I can now completely focus on the game and put the book down. So, we managed to get ourselves to 52,000 damage. Got an Iowa. 16-inch guns. Not really got the armour to answer that. Haven't got the range or the. I haven't got enough space really to use it. I might just wait until he fires. I've got right to the edge of my detectability. Actually, what's my detectability at the moment? That's 10.9, so I can squeeze it down to about 10.9 and then wait for him to fire, and then I'll start kiting away. I think that sounds like a nice idea. There you go, he's firing his front turret, so we can actually start turning away. Massachusetts behind as well, so another 16-inch gun battleship. So that's one thing that you don't really want to see in a Surrey, is obviously things with 16-inch guns, because 16-inch guns will just go through all of your armour. You have no armour to resist that really, apart from maybe the very lower extremity of your armoured bow, which is the Citadel. 25 for Massachusetts. And that's one of the problems. 16-inch guns, you have to really have your head on a swivel and try and pay attention. I wasn't really expecting the Massachusetts to actually switch to me as quickly as he had. Should be able to do one more volley on the Iowa, and I'm going to have to really watch what the Massachusetts is doing. Massachusetts looks like he switched target completely. Now, when it comes to my command build, in this case I'm taking Bruce Fraser. Obviously I'm taking the same inspirations as I was with my William Tennant build, so I am taking von Muller for cruiser speed and Azur Lane Baltimore for rudder shift. And then with Bruce Fraser, I am taking is it Reaching Out, which gives you an additional 10% range when fully upgraded. Also, I think it's Igniter, just for a bit more fire chance, along with Velicious for extra speed, Steer Clear for extra rudder shift, and Fully Packed, which does give me the additional sonar, repair party, and catapult fighter. And that should be the Massachusetts all got tidied up, and that just leaves the Udachi all the way down at their base. And there we go, that's the end of the game. Didn't even get to use our last repair party. Well, let's see what we did there at the end screen. We managed to do 81,000 damage, 2 citadels, 94 hits on target, and 5 fires, getting 1 incapacitation. Coming to the leaderboard, coming 4th on the team, quite happy with that considering I'm reading out of a book, and the enemy team just got mopped up really quickly. I do like to try and back up the weak flank on this map. just to try and spread your forces, and it also stops your weak flank folding up so quickly as well, I seem to find. Going to the economy, obviously the ship service cost of 105,000 credits in this case. However, with a common credit booster and a premium count, I have been able to make myself 128,000 credits. Well, if you have enjoyed this review, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and until next time, I'm the Gallop Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the Galloping Major. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the Galloping